videocast of Enlightened by Life. I'm Alexandria, and tonight I've invited Kira to come up and be one of my guests on the show because I felt that it's better that we have someone who can answer some questions, who has also personally experienced some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up that we are going to be talking about the power of words and the long-term effects that they have on people. We're exploring the invisible force that shapes our world and ourselves through words. We have all heard the phrase that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never harm me. But is it really true? In a world where a single phrase can build someone up and tear them down, where a comment can linger for years, we have to ask ourselves what is true and what is the true lasting power of words. We're not just talking about what we say, but what we don't say, and the echoes that it leaves behind in our lives, in others, and in our own. To start with, I want to talk about a simple moment or a single phrase. And Kira, I'm going to ask you to think back to a time when someone said something to you, either incredibly kind or deeply hurtful, and it's memory that you still carry today. And let's go from there.
Well, there's a couple of different times that kind of stick close to me. In my childhood, I was very picked on from my siblings and from my peers at school. Anywhere from being called a teacher's pet to being made fun of for my facial appearances because I have a very elongated nose. And it was a generation where Michael Jackson was not looked too fond of. And so I was reciprocated to him. And so those facial appearances, those degradations, I guess, really stuck with me all throughout into adulthood. And then when I started my current job at a treatment center, did I start actually seeing value in myself, where people actually tell me that I'm worth something, that my words, my presence actually are valuable because
Section U in Section H, NSAYS at Dixie River 333, welcome in.
Dixie, welcome to the room. If any of you guys, we're talking about the power of words. This is my very first video cast for Enlightened by Life. If you want to come up and talk about that, you're more than welcome. Just hit the multi-guesting and my moderator will bring you up. All we ask is that you be respectful to the other guests, and because we are talking about such a sensitive subject, I ask that you have a certain amount of compassion when people are sharing. Sunshine, I'll ask you the same thing. I want you to think back to something that you still carry today that someone had said to you, and how does it affect you?
That would be my mom disowning me and calling me names.
Yeah, and how
I went through it is to be quiet and let her do what she does because she's going through something, and I don't want to lose an argument that we took.
And likewise, I am very much going through some of the same things. Here I am at 50 years old, and I didn't have either one of my parents really growing up. You know, my father put me on the side of the road after 13 years of abuse and basically told me my mother was alive, and then I went and lived with my grandparents until I met my mom at 16 years old. And ever since then, it's been, you know, I'm not good enough, and here I am at 50 years old trying to learn how to fast track myself into grown adulthood, and my self-worth and my value goes down because that inner dialogue that I have with myself tells me I'm not good enough, which, you know, led me down to the road of substance abuse, covering up my feelings, to where, and some of it was my identity, finally getting to be myself has alleviated a lot of that pain. But even now in a relationship, the self-doubt gets to me, and the ripple effects of things that was said to me when I was a child are hurtful in every way, and they have taken away from me having a vital and vibrant adulthood. So with that, I'm going to go and say that, we're not just talking about words. We're talking about the ripple effects and the fleeting sounds. We're not talking about them like fleeting sounds. We're talking about them as blueprints. And for survivors of abuse, whether it's verbal, emotional, or a combination of the both, the words are heard often repeatedly, where they're not just insults. They are foundational lies about our worth, our intelligence, our lovability. And over time, these external words become an internal voice, a relentless critic that says, we're not good enough, you're a burden, and you'll never succeed. Emotional and verbal abuse have significant lasting effects on a person's mental health. Statistics from various studies show a strong link between this type of abuse and a range of psychological and behavioral problems. And here are some of the key mental health statistics. There's an increased risk for mental health disorders. Adults who experience verbal and psychological abuse as children are more likely to suffer from mental illness, and show that they are approximately 50% more likely to report low mental health well-being in adulthood. When combined with physical abuse, the risk more than doubles. PTSD and depression. Psychological abuse is a stronger predictor of post-traumatic stress syndrome in women than even physical abuse is, and in some case studies, as many as 7 out of 10 women who were psychologically abused will exhibit PTSD symptoms. The weighted mean prevalence rate for major depression among women who have experienced abuse is estimated to be 48% or higher. Other psychological effects are the effects of verbal abuse often lead to a wide range of other psychological problems, including anxiety, chronic feelings of isolation, pessimism, emotional disconnection from others, and these individuals are also at a higher risk for unaliving ideations. So, with that, Kira, what's the difference between a simple fleeting insult and a foundational lie that becomes an inner critic?
Those fleeting insults are something that we can look at to acknowledge that's somebody else's projection. The lies that our mind tells us, those are the connections that comes in from loved ones or people that have had a huge impact in our lives. And something inside of us wants to believe them because they were something important to us.
So, do you believe that it's the repetition, the source, or something else entirely?
I think it's a combination, because the source, if it's the lies that we tell ourselves are from loved ones, whether it's parents or siblings or grandparents or adult influence, and either they're telling us that or they're telling themselves that out loud and we're hearing it, it sticks with us.
So how do these foundational lies create a sense of being unworthy and unlovable so deeply that a person can struggle to trust positive feedback later on in life?
Well, a lot of the times when those lies get situated, it comes from a very young age. Back to that statistic that you were going on, I found that children up until the age of 7 develop that sense of self, and they get the feedback from the adults, and that's where that personality and the characteristics and the sense of self comes to play, where they develop that self-worth or their lack of.
So, and that being said, can you give me an example of how something seemingly harmless or well-intentioned as a phrase from a caregiver can unintentionally become a blueprint of self-doubt?
Well, when kids have a fumble and a parent makes a joke out of it, where they're saying, oh, you're so clumsy, or you're always so silly, and that's how you are. Just downplaying a behavior when realistically it should be something to learn from.
All right. And so, how do you think that affects that child as they get older into adulthood?
Well, depending on what the situation is, it can turn a person into a self-isolator, or they can turn them into a class clown, or they're constantly doubting themselves in school because they don't think that they're ever going to achieve anything because they're told as kids, well, that's just how you are. And you have to accept that.
So this is where the term long-term consequences really hits home. It's not just the memory of the words themselves, but the way they rewrite a person's self-perception. And they can lead to anxiety and depression, a fear of failure, a constant feeling of needing to apologize for their own existence. And boy, can I attest to that. I'm always saying I'm sorry. Like, it falls under that category of people pleasing. But the root of it comes from, a lack of affection, a lack of nurturement, being told that I'm no good, that I'm worthless. Y'all pardon me, but when I was growing up for the first few years of my life, I thought my name was Little Motherfucker, because it's all my daddy ever called me. And I didn't have a name, it was just Little Motherfucker. And that really did a number on me. And so, the healing journey for many often begins with the quiet but difficult work of unlearning the lies and challenging that inner critic. And I can tell you just from my own personal journey that was the hardest part of it, and I still haven't gotten completely healed of it. That inner critic is still as loud as it was 10 years ago when I went into trauma therapy and CBT and DBT, which is what helped me get my post-traumatic stress and anxiety under control, which were godsends for me. So now that we've talked about the words of the inner critic, how long does the critic stay? Obviously, it stays for a lifetime. The unfortunate truth for many is that the voice doesn't just fade away with time. The child who was told they were stupid might become an adult who is terrified of public speaking or starting a new career, even if they're highly qualified. And that's sad. That's really sad. As somebody like me who graduated high school at 16 and is very intelligent, hasn't had a chance to go to college because, well, I get in college and I get a D or something and I shame myself out of school, and and not having a support system, I feel like an epic failure, and so I don't want to try again. But I'm getting to a point where I just did my FAFSA yesterday, and I'm determined to go back into school and learn coding. And I told my boyfriend, I said, this is where I'm really going to need a build up. I need someone to stand in my corner and be my personal cheerleader, because I've never had that. And so the teenager who's told that they're unlovable might struggle with trust and intimacy in their adult relationships, constant fear of abandonment and betrayal. Kira, I think we both can attest to how that goes.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I mean, when I was growing up, from the age of 8 till I left the house, I was always told that, family comes first. I have to be present for the household, and I had to maintain the cooking, the cleaning, the babysitting of the little sister, making sure my siblings weren't fighting constantly. I could never have my own personality. My schooling was always butchered because I always constantly had to be present in the household instead of for my schooling.
All right. So, okay. And So let me ask you, what are some of the most common behavioral consequences you see in adults who were subject to verbal or emotional abuse?
Deflection,
Section UN Section H
isolation,
and says a
constant
Shannon Hair welcoming.
apologies, lack of
I,
self-worth,
yeah.
and
Send Miss Shannon. Miss Shannon, if you would like to come up and join the conversation, you are more than welcome to. I'm sure you have some insight on this.
definitely substance abuse can be a huge leading factor as well, like you mentioned earlier.
Right. Um, let's see. And you mentioned that we mentioned that healing is not linear. So, what are some of the biggest setbacks or common hurdles in people who face this journey, and how can they prepare for them?
Some hurdles would definitely be continuing to listen to those outside factors. Parents that were not supportive, significant others that might be struggling with their own challenges and they're projecting, not seeking help when they deserve it.
Okay. And I want y'all both to answer this question, you and Sunshine. Beyond the professional intervention, what is the role of an individual's own agency as in their self in healing, and how can a person take back control of their narrative?
Can you say that one more time? There's too much feedback.
I'm sorry. I said beyond glitter is in the room. Can we bring her up, please? I said so beyond a person's intervention, besides professional intervention, what is the role of an individual's own agency, as in themselves, in their healing, and how can the person take back the narrative, take control of the narrative?
Okay. So, outside of professional assistance, I think recognizing that a person's self-worth has to come from within. Whether that's doing self-talk in front of a mirror or journaling and writing 5 affirmations a day.
Glitter says that Echo is wild.
And surrounding themselves with positive people.
Hold on one second. Let me check and make sure I'm doing an echo check right now. So, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. This is like it says no echoes were found, but it might be the way it's set up. I have no idea. You want to chime in on that question, Glitter? You sound like you're in a hall, but that's okay. I think it's the settings on my end. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Sunshine. And I'll tell you, that is in Glitter, you and Kenny and I, we all share similar journeys. And, we all know that inner critic is horrible. it like tears us down instantly. It's not like it's progressive. The voice is as loud as it was 10 years ago. It might be a little more subtle, but it is still can tear us down so quick, and people wonder what's wrong with us, and it's conditioning. And so, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've taken so many paths to heal to get to where I am today as a almost 51-year-old adult. But, when that voice kicks in is when I should be able to do things that most 50-year-old people can do, but I'm not equipped for them because I didn't get what I needed as a child in order to be a full, mature adult. You know what I'm saying? I, So, and that now moving on, that's the consequences aren't just psychological; they can be behavioral. A person might subconsciously avoid opportunities for success because they've been conditioned to believe that they're not worthy of them, or they fall into patterns of codependency, seeking validation from others. They can't find it within themselves, and the echoes of these negative words can become silent but powerful and a force that directs a person's life choices and emotional well-being for decades. There's no single statistic that can definitely measure a success rate for healing from the kind of trauma. Research and clinical practice show that long term recovery is absolutely possible if often tied by some key factors. Instead of a simple number and data points to several crucial elements that determine long term outcomes for survivors, here's a few things that I did come up with that the power of professional intervention shows that therapy specifically designed for trauma, like trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy, eye movement desensitization, reprocessing, which is known as trauma therapy, cognitive processing therapy, and or help have improvement. They have significant improvements in symptoms of PTSD, depression, and anxiety, and they're often linked to the emotional and verbal abuse in a person. The role of support, the presence of strong non-judgmental support system, whether through family or friends or a support group, is a major predictor of positive long-term outcomes. Connecting to others helps combat the isolation and the shame that abusive words can often create. And then there's also the individual journey where the path to healing is not linear. It's highly individual. Factors like duration of severity of abuse, the age at which it occurred, an individual's personal resilience all play a role in the success, and it's often defined by the person's ability to reclaim their self-worth and build healthy relationships, and live a life that's not dictated by the trauma of their past, and the ability to reclaim their self-worth and build healthy relationships, and live a life that's not dictated by the trauma of their past, and that a person should have. And that's what makes being my age right now and trying to function as an adult difficult at times. Um, so, you know, my next question would be is how can someone who's been conditioned to believe that they are a burden refrain from the act of for help from a sign asking for help from a sign of weakness or an act of courage or self-care? Sign of weakness or an act of courage or self-care? Care. Uh, and I agree with that. You know, you and I have a really good friendship, and I told you when I met you that like there was an instant connection. And with you, I feel like I can talk to you about things and not have any walls and barriers up, and I can just be me and with all of my flaws. And I love that because you walls and barriers up, and I can just be me and with all of my flaws. And I love that because you don't judge. And so you know you give me straightforward advice, but you do it with love and compassion, which makes it more palatable, you know, for someone like me who is sensitive. And that being said, Kara, I want to ask you, what are some of the practical tools and phrases people can use? And that being said, Kara, I want to ask you, what are some of the practical tools and phrases people can use to actively challenge their inner critic in that moment? What negative voice is particularly loud? Okay. And so that being said, let me ask you another question. Hang tight here a second. So is it possible to develop self-compassion if you if it is it possible to develop self-compassion if your experience has taught you to be perpetually harsh on yourself, and where does one even begin? Mhm. So, okay. Um, Let me go back to where we were. So, okay, you know, this isn't. Yeah, it does, and this is not. I don't want people listening to think that this is about letting ourselves off the hook or ignoring our flaws. It's about accepting our imperfections as a human being. And when that inner critic says you're messed up again, self compassion is the voice that responds with, that was a difficult situation, but you're doing your best. And you can learn from this. It's a foundation with, that was a difficult situation, but you're doing your best. And you can learn from this. It's a foundational practice for dismantling the old harmful narratives and building a new one, like you said. And it's one that's more truthful based and with dignity and respect. So, how do we actually do this? The key is to start with small and to be consistent. One of the most powerful tools is compassionate self-talk. When you notice that the inner critic is speaking up, consciously choose to respond to it, like you said. Try asking yourself, what would I say to a friend who was going through this? And then say those exact words to yourself. For an example, if you make a mistake at work and your inner voice says you're so incompetent, you can always respond by saying that was a difficult task and it's okay to make mistakes. I'm still learning and I can handle this. The small shift creates a powerful and new pattern for the way we think. Another simple but effective practice is the three-step self-compassion break. It's popularized by researcher Dr. Kristen Neff. Well, step one is mindfulness, acknowledging the pain in that moment. Step two is calming humanity, remembering that the struggle is a part of being human and that you're not alone in this feeling. And step three is self-kindness. You offer yourself a kind and comforting touch, like putting your hand on your heart or speaking a gentle phrase to yourself, such as, may I be kind to myself in this moment. But even with a strong support system, the best. Okay, Okay, cool. So even with a strong support system, the best self-compassion practices, there will be days when the old narrative resurface and the inner critic that we work so hard to quiet might suddenly shout out, "See, I told you so." And after that mistake or moment of doubt, when this happens, it's crucial that we treat it not as a failure, but more as an opportunity for more practice. So, Glitter, now that you're back, I'm going to ask you, how can a survivor of verbal and abuse set healthy boundaries with well-meaning but hurtful family or friends who don't understand the healing journey? Yeah, yeah. I Okay, and that being said, let me ask you another thing, because I so and that being said, let me ask you the second question tied to this. Okay. Is like when a person's in a new relationship, how can they learn to trust positive affirmations when their past has taught them to expect the opposite? Or, AKA, for those of you who may not understand what I'm saying, expecting the other shoe to drop. And I know that all three of us have dealt with this issue. Mm, mhm. And I guess it's that fear of that. I guess it's that fear of that. It goes back to that inner critic of we're not worthy of happiness. We're not worthy of joy. We're not entitled to happy things, and so subconsciously we do what it takes to push a person away. And it's sad that it comes out that way, but In another instance, it's a survival tactic, and it's because we don't want to feel the pain of breaking again like that. And I don't, it's so hard to fight that, and yeah, I just there's not an yeah. Right, right. So I say that, yeah. So we don't fight the feeling of or get angry at ourselves for having it. Instead, we observe it without judgment, and we acknowledge the old thought and the feeling that it brings, but we don't let it take over. And I know we can say to ourselves, "Oh, that's the old voice again." That thought doesn't serve me anymore, or then intentionally pivot back to self-compassion. And this is a moment to remind yourself of how far that we've all come, and remember that healing isn't about the yeah, and you have a point there. That's what we're kind of talking about. Is it's hard for us. Self-sabotage comes from not having people who were solid in our lives that let us down, that hurt us. And when you have that happen to you time and time again, learning to trust to someone, or letting or even opening up to someone, becomes a challenge. But that too is a moment that we need to remind ourselves of how far we've come, and remember that healing isn't about the absence of bad days, but it's more about the resilience and the compassionate way that we move through them. And as we get ready to close today, remember there's a voice that is a powerful that your voice is a powerful force, and for yourself and for the world around you. You have the power to choose the words you speak, and yourself and the narrative that you carry forward. Healing from the long-term effects of negative words isn't a straight line, like Glitter said, but every act of self-compassion and every single step that you take to rewrite your story is a triumph. And your worth is not defined by the hurtful words of your past, but rather by the kindness and the resilience you show yourself today. And the journey to enlightenment is a journey back to your own inner truth. And before we go in today's conversation, if any of today's conversation resonated with you and it's brought up feelings for you that you need to explore further, please know that you're not alone in this matter. There's help available. Seeking support is a sign of immense strength, not weakness. Um, a few more questions. Is For those of you who are beginning to consider seeking help, what is a good first step? Yeah, and so can you still hear me?
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo.
Okay, yeah, I had to switch over my plug, so we're gonna have to bear with it for just a minute. Um, so the last thing is, can either one of you offer some advice on how to initiate a conversation with a family member or a friend about the harm their past words have caused in a way that's productive that doesn't lead to more pain?
I agree with that. You can also, like, if you've never had the conversation before, start by acknowledging
Section UN
things
section
that
H safety try 2.
if there is anything, you know. Chain of growth for themselves, then start the conversation with
Are you still there?
I
Yeah,
I
okay.
believe you mean well. I'm still here.
Okay.
Some of
And
the things that I've witnessed in my life, I need
are you still there?
I would pitch in, but the echo failed.
Yep.
Hold on one second. Let me do this again. Mm, Let me try and go to my other speakers. Okay. Let's see. Is that a little better?
No.
Oh wait, yes. Oh no, it's just more delayed.
Oh, okay. I have no idea.
Section UN section HSS wireless
Yes,
DKMLA.
we can let you two up. Come on. So all right, my last question. Well, no, that was it. And so, there are a few places for immediate help is that we can turn to for help. One is the mental health hotline. It provides a safe space and confidential space for you to talk. If you're looking for a therapist, resources like
Okay, I got a question. Sorry. What's with this echo?
there, I don't know. It don't work. Tune it out until because we're almost done. Just tune it out because I need somebody to help me learn how to use Studio. Anyway, moving forward. um, if you're looking for a therapist, resources like online therapy directories can help you find a professional who specializes in trauma.
Section UN section HNS
And if you prefer community setting, support groups are great, both in person and online, and they offer a chance to connect with other survivors who understand your journey. And remember that your healing journey, is a journey worth taking. And I'd like to thank you for taking a moment to tune in and watching and listening to Enlightened by Life. And I'm Alexandria. Big shout out to Glitter, Sunshine, and Kira for being here, and Choo Choo for jumping in. And and just to let you guys know, this podcast is probably going to be on Fridays at 9 p.m. And you'll probably see some of the same guests repeatedly because this is my support network that I have here. And they are very wise and incredible individuals that have helped me grow over the last year and helped me reconnect with life after some pretty
That's
devastating stuff.
questionable.
Yes, well, you were questionable. But thank you guys so much, and I
Rude.
appreciate it. Anyway, that part, now I can cut the video from here and go forward, or go backwards, but, guys, y'all are awesome. Glitter, you're amazing. Kira, you're amazing. Choo Choo, I wish you would have been here, because I would have loved you to chime in on this. Um, I think it was pretty good. We
I'll
had,
definitely check it out.
yeah, like, I'm going to be asking you guys for different points of topics, and then I'll be creating dialogues from there. And I'm coming from the heart. That's why
Oh,
it's
I
called.
am the perfect one for that.
It's called. That's why I called it Enlightened by Life.
Me.
You know, because I've gotten to where I am because of the experiences that I've had to go through.
This echo, though.
And dude, I don't know how to do this echo thing. I don't.
It's okay. I like hearing your voice, Mike.
I don't know how to fix it. Let's see.
You gotta turn your volume on.
You had it for a while.
Yeah, it was all good until I had to switch from my headphones to the speakers on my computer.
Oh, that's why it's lagging.
Yeah, and when I was on the headphones, it was great. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so now I'm on the headphones. What do you think about the? Yeah, cause that's because I'm on the headset. Yeah. What'd you guys think about the dialogue? Say things, because once you say those words, you can't take them back. Okay. Okay. Okay, I can roll with that. Okay. Okay, I can roll with that. I will roll with that, and I'll make sure that I will put that. Yeah, so okay, I've got you, Choo Choo. Don't worry. So does that mean that you'll be here to? Does that mean that you'll be here to participate in the next podcast since you came up with the topic? Um, Glitter. Hey, can we bring Glitter back up, please? Thank you. Yeah, you're okay. I think since you brought up the topic that you should very well participate. Okay, well, great. You can make it. You can end it on a Friday night. You can end it Friday night. What's Well, I'm gonna be doing it Friday night, so you. Mhm. Mhm. Well, I'm sorry. You're a worthless asshole. That they mean exactly what they're saying. You know, when someone tells you you're a worthless piece of shit, they mean exactly what they're saying. Unless they're doing it from a place of anger, and you know, but like you have to, and there you have to learn what is what. I mean, but you know, when you are raised and told that you're nothing but a piece of shit, and you know, you think your name is little motherfucker like I did, you know, you have to be a horrible person at your core to be like that with somebody. And so what people don't realize is that, you know, I'm gonna be blunt. When you open your legs and you bring a child into the world and you're not a responsible enough adult to take care of that child and nurture it, you probably don't need to be opening your legs. Period. Because it creates children like me, like Choo Choo, like you. I mean, those kind of things affect us in ways that if people don't, if people could see into the future and see their consequences of their actions, they might do things differently, but they don't have that luxury. And so that is how people like us get made, and then we spend the rest of our lives trying to fix what somebody else fucked up that we didn't really have a decision in. You know, I didn't ask to come here. I didn't ask to be born. And so my question has always been, where's the accountability for those people? You know, and unfortunately, I'm come to the face of reality that people who are responsible for me are getting away scot free because they don't understand what they've done. They're absolutely clueless, and they just look at me like I'm something that's messed up and I'm wrong, and it really isn't my fault. I mean, yes, I'm trying to equip myself with enough knowledge and wisdom to counteract and circumvent that, but still at the same time, it is it has been detrimental in my life, and it's hurt me in more ways than I care to count. And but I think tonight was a good start. And Choo Choo, we are going to be doing instant gratification Friday at 9 o'clock. So clear your schedule, sir, since you were the creator of the topic, and you'll get acknowledged for it. So thank you for the hand heart. But yeah, I think that's a great topic for next time. And I'm gonna catch glitter on I'm gonna catch glitter on a Snapchat call, and we're gonna see what we can do about fixing your cold rather quickly. We're not getting into that on live. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end it. So I'm going to end it. Yeah, I'm fixing to see my way out of it anyway, so that I can spend some time with my guy, who was patient enough to listen to this for an hour and something while he took a shower. So I who was patient enough to listen to this for an hour and something while he took a shower. So, but no, Glitter, Kara, and Sunshine, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. That coming from you, that's a big ass compliment. I really appreciate that. I had to. You got the personality and everything for it. I think. I know. You know, you can't. It was my baby. I sat and thought about this, and um, you know, this is something I'm good at doing, so why not give back to the world? I mean, we had 47 viewers come through, not including the three. Not, well, I'm, you know, I'm not your sister if I'm not a pain in the ass. So I but I am grateful, and I'm grateful. Did you see the video I did for you, you goofball? Huh? You might want to check your profile or check my main profile because I shared it to you. Glitter saw it. And you, let me address the issue with the video of talking about if you hoes like you hoes are real. You have to understand my humor. So I was on this thing. I was like, this is what I deal with when I think some bitches, fake bitches, actually being real. And the song "Just My Imagination" playing around with me. That was what the video was about. It was never about you. And so, you know, Chichi, I respect you enough as a brother to come to you and say, hey, man, you piss me off. I'm not going to do something as tacky as go on TikTok and post a video. Oh, I know you would. I mean, but I'm petty, but there's some limitations to my pettiness. That I just don't think that's worthy of being petty. Is doing a video. Sure. Ah! Okay. Okay. Eastern Standard Time to discuss the topic of instant gratification that he has so generously brought up. Yeah, get the COVID, dude, and see what happens. Um, I will that he has so generously brought up. Yeah, get the COVID, dude, and see what happens. Um, I will. I will make a call to Godfather and Nika. I will call Godfather and Nika. Uh huh. Uh huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you will, because he'll be there. So, and plus y'all talk right after that. So, but anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I'll talk to you later. Huh? Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you, Choo Choo. I know TikTok keeps arranging shit. I didn't see what it was. What? Holy crap. Yeah, it didn't come across the screen. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, Glitter. Thank you. Uh, there it is. I can see it now. Thank you. That's awesome. There it is. I can see it now. Thank you. That's awesome. And even Choo Choo gave me a hand heart. The love from the bottom of his heart. What? What's that do? Oh, cool. I didn't know. I didn't know that. I don't even know what the hell that is, but I appreciate that. Okay, cool. Whoever lit up, who lit up the Tiny Dining in Love? Hi. Oh, uh, yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I love you guys, and you guys, y'all are awesome, and I love you guys, and you guys, y'all are awesome, and I really, I do appreciate you very much. Hold on, let me switch my speakers again. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I have love for you too, Dustin, and I'm proud of you and how far you've come. Is this your actual birthday, or is this the other birthday? Thursday. Okay. And what number are we turning? What number are you turning? You're not older. Uh, you're not old as me. I turned 50. I turned 51 in a few, let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 more months. I'll be 51 years old. So, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you're a few years younger than me. Anyway. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get I'm going to get out of here. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. All right. Bye. Bye. You're a trip. You know that? Anyway, I'll share that to your. I'll share the video to your platform, and actually, I'll do it while I have you on the phone. So I got my phone in my hand. You are being a total dork. Uh, I'm glad, and it shows. Yeah. Let's see. I am sharing this to. Oh, I have it on Snapchat. I'm gonna send it to you. Mm, all right. All right. Bye.